They say the bigger the smile on the red carpet, the darker the secrets being swept under the rug. But what happens when the rug is pulled back and the world realizes the entire house was built on quicksand? Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, the golden couple of Nashville, the untouchable A-list duo, have finally seen their picture-perfect facade crumble into a million jagged pieces, and honey, the cleanup is messy. For 19 years we watched them play the roles of their lives, convincing us that their organic love was the blueprint. But now that the divorce papers are signed, sealed, and delivered in early 2026, Nicole isn't just breaking her silence. She's dropping a tactical nuke on Keith's reputation. When a woman of her stature quietly wipes a man's existence from her digital footprint and steps out looking 10 years younger with a best friend on her arm, you know the truth is about to be more twisted than a Hollywood thriller. Was Keith really the devoted husband? Or was he just a strategic passenger on Nicole's private jet to the top? Is Sunday Rose's sudden public alliance with her mother the ultimate "I told you so"? Buckle up, because the Urban Kidman empire has fallen, and Nicole is finally admitting what we've all suspected since day one. None of this was an accident. It was an extraction. Let's pull back the curtain and get into the real meat of this scandal, because to understand why the Urban Kidman household finally imploded in 2026, you have to look at the power dynamics that were skewed from the very first second. We are talking about a woman who is essentially a sovereign nation in Hollywood, a multi-million-dollar brand with an Oscar on the shelf, and a mother who treats her life like a strategic chessboard. And then you have Keith. To the casual observer, he was the supportive husband, the guy who walked 2 steps behind her on the carpet, but the leaked reports coming out of the divorce proceedings tell a story of a man who was allegedly drowning in a sea of his own insecurity. The controversy didn't start with a fight over a dinner table. It started with the realization that Keith was never actually the king of his own castle. Sources close to the production of Nicole's latest projects have hinted that the atmosphere at home was more like a corporate office than a marriage. You had Nicole, the CEO, making all the executive decisions, and Keith, the employee, who was increasingly frustrated with his lack of creative and personal control. The bad reputation Keith has been fighting to avoid is finally catching up to him, and the rumors of his secret life in New Jersey are no longer just whispers in the wind. We've all seen the dramatic headlines, but what's been happening behind closed doors is a masterclass in psychological warfare. Anonymous insiders are claiming that Nicole's mother, Janelle Ann, had a private dossier on Keith's spending habits that would make a billionaire blush. We're talking about massive amounts of capital being funneled into private ventures that never saw the light of day. There's a reason Nicole insisted on that ironclad prenup back in 2014, and it wasn't just about protecting her movie residuals. It was because she saw the pattern early on. She saw a man who was addicted to the lifestyle but terrified of the work it took to maintain it. The suspense surrounding their 2025 separation was just a teaser for the main event we are witnessing now. When the reports hit the internet that Nicole had discovered Keith was using an alias to party in New York while she was filming in Europe, the internet almost broke. But was anyone truly shocked? If you look at the timeline of Keith's solo trips, the dates align perfectly with Nicole's biggest career moments. Every time she reached a new peak, he seemed to find a reason to descend into the shadows. This wasn't just a marriage. It was a competition that Keith was destined to lose. The public reaction has been a mix of "I knew it" and total devastation, but the evidence mounting against Keith's supposed devotion is becoming impossible to ignore. We've seen the leaked text messages where Keith allegedly complained to his friends that he felt like a prop in Nicole's life. But isn't that the irony of the whole situation? He signed up for the role of the prop because the paycheck was too good to pass up. He traded his autonomy for a front-row seat to the elite life. And now that the contract has been terminated, he's acting like the victim of a crime he helped commit. The investigative findings suggest that Keith's resentment manifested in ways that were designed to hurt Nicole where it mattered most: her image. By showing up to events looking disheveled or letting unauthorized stories slip to the press about their lack of intimacy, Keith was playing a dangerous game of reputation chicken. But Nicole Kidman doesn't blink. She waited until the time was right, until her legal team had every single digital footprint tracked, and then she moved with the precision of a surgeon. The corruption of their original love story is the real tragedy here. But as we dive deeper into the financial fallout and the Marvin alias, it becomes clear that Keith Urban was playing a character that he eventually forgot how to inhabit. The lavish spending on that New Jersey condo, the anonymous sightings at late-night clubs, and the growing distance between him and his daughters, it all points to a man who had already checked out years ago. Public opinion is shifting rapidly as more people realize that the sweet country boy image was a carefully curated mask. You have to wonder, when Keith looks in the mirror now, does he see the man who used to handle logistics for Russell Crowe? Or does he see the man who lost the biggest prize in Hollywood because he couldn't handle being second best? The drama is just getting started, and the more we dig, the uglier it gets. People are calling for a full forensic audit of the joint accounts they shared during the 2020 to 2024 period, and some reports suggest that millions are unaccounted for in the Nashville real estate market. Was Keith building a safety net behind Nicole's back? The level of betrayal being hinted at is staggering. Imagine being married to one of the most powerful women in the world and thinking you could outsmart her legal department. It's a level of hubris that is almost impressive if it wasn't so pathetic. The fallout is already affecting Keith's professional standings, with several major sponsors reportedly pulling back as the cheating and financial abuse allegations gain traction. But Nicole? She's already 3 steps ahead, rebranding herself as the ultimate survivor. The narrative has shifted from the divorce of the year to the liberation of Nicole Kidman, and the public is eating it up. Every time a new piece of information leaks, it feels like another nail in the coffin of Keith's career. And the most interesting part of all of this is how quiet Keith has been. Usually, the one with nothing to hide is the loudest person in the room, but Keith is practically invisible. Is he hiding in that Jersey condo? Or is he realizing that there is no way to spin this story in his favor? The imaginary sources might have been talking for years, but now the real sources are coming forward with dates, times, and receipts. This is no longer about, he said, she said. This is about, she has the evidence, and he has a lawyer who looks like he's seen a ghost. The public reactions on social media have been brutal, with fans dissecting every old interview they ever gave together. They're looking at the body language, the way Nicole would pull away when he touched her, and the way Keith would avoid eye contact when asked about their future. It's all there, hiding in plain sight for over a decade. The suspense of what Nicole will reveal in her upcoming sit-down interview is reaching a fever pitch. Will she finally name the names? Will she talk about the other women Keith allegedly met under the alias Marvin? Or will she keep it classy and just let the legal documents do the talking? Either way, the message is loud and clear. The Urban Kidman household has burned to the ground, and Nicole is the only one who made it out with her crown intact. As we move into the actual breakdown of the scandal and how the public reacted to the leaked reports of Keith's late-night habits, the picture becomes even more vivid, and the consequences for Keith are starting to look like a total professional and personal bankruptcy that he never saw coming despite all the warning signs being flashed in his face for nearly 20 years. The deep dive into those late-night habits and the Marvin alias wasn't just a minor gossip point. It was the crack in the dam that finally let the floodwaters of truth destroy their carefully polished reputation. As we transition into the second phase of this investigative breakdown, we have to talk about the sheer audacity of the secret life Keith was allegedly leading while Nicole was out being the primary breadwinner for the entire Kidman urban machine. Imagine the scene. Nicole is on a grueling press tour in London, looking every bit the sophisticated icon, while Keith is reportedly spotted in a dimly lit New Jersey lounge, introducing himself as a freelance consultant named Marvin. This isn't just a rumor anymore. We are talking about a documented pattern of behavior that anonymous sources say was the real reason behind the 2026 divorce filing. When the investigative report started leaking, the public reaction was a mixture of absolute horror and "I told you so" from the fans who never trusted the country singer's good guy persona. The corruption of trust within that household was so deep that even the staff members, the nannies, the housekeepers, the security detail, have started to whisper about the two faces of Keith. One minute he's the doting father posing for a curated Instagram shot, and the next, he's demanding the private jet for a business meeting that somehow ends up in a city where Nicole isn't. The abuse of power here is staggering because Keith wasn't just using his own resources. He was allegedly leveraging the Kidman name to gain access to circles he had no business being in. We're talking about high-stakes environments where he wasn't Keith Urban, the musician, but the husband of the most powerful woman in Hollywood, and he used that status to hide his tracks. The investigative findings reveal a disturbing level of financial manipulation that would make a forensic accountant dizzy. Leaked documents from the early 2026 audit show a series of shell companies, one reportedly named Blue Neon LLC, that were used to purchase high-end luxury items and property without Nicole's direct signature. If you think that's just smart investing, think again. These assets were allegedly being used to host a rotation of guests that Nicole had never met. The lavish spending on designer jewelry, luxury watches, and high-end automotive upgrades wasn't for Nicole. It was for the lifestyle Keith felt he was entitled to lead on his own terms. When the public started seeing the receipts, the backlash was instantaneous. People began questioning how a man who walked away from a steady production job in 2011 to join Nicole's world suddenly had the capital to fund a multi-million-dollar shadow life. The answer, according to those same anonymous insiders, is that he had been slowly skimming from the top of their joint ventures for years. The hypocrisy is what really stings. While Nicole was advocating for transparency and building her empire with total focus, Keith was allegedly building a trapdoor. The Marvin alias wasn't just a fun secret identity, it was a psychological escape from being Mr. Kidman. Public reactions have been scathing, with social media influencers and commentary channels dissecting the sheer ego required to think you could hide a New Jersey condo from a woman who has more private investigators on her payroll than most small countries. And let's talk about that condo. This isn't just a home base for travel. Sources claim it was a hub for a lifestyle that was diametrically opposed to the clean living Nashville brand they sold us. We're talking about leaked reports of wild parties, anonymous women coming and going at 4 a.m., and a level of debauchery that Nicole Kidman wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. The contrast is jarring. You have Nicole, who is known for her discipline, her health-conscious lifestyle, and her professionalism, and then you have this reported shadow version of her husband who is essentially living like a frat boy on a permanent vacation. The public outcry for Nicole to take everything in the divorce is at an all-time high. People aren't just angry that he cheated. They're angry that he disrespected the platform she gave him. The arrogance of corruption is a recurring theme here. Keith reportedly believed that as long as he showed up for the big events and looked the part, he could do whatever he wanted in the dark. But the 2026 digital landscape is unforgiving. Every Marvin sighting was eventually tracked, every receipt was eventually scanned, and every lie was eventually cross-referenced. The fallout is already manifesting in Keith's social circle. Reports suggest that longtime friends like Russell Crowe have gone completely silent, distancing themselves from the toxic blast radius of Keith's crumbling reputation. When your own matchmaker stops taking your calls, you know you've crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. The psychological toll on Nicole has been described as devastating but clarifying. Imagine the moment she realized that the man she sacrificed a professional boundary for, the man she encouraged to quit his job so they could be a team, was actually her biggest liability. The anonymous quotes coming out of Nicole's camp suggest she feels used, in the most literal sense of the word. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a patron. He didn't want a marriage. He wanted a scholarship to the elite life. The public reaction to this realization has been a wave of support for Nicole, with fans calling her the Queen of Extraction. She didn't just file for divorce. She launched a full-scale offensive to reclaim her identity. The investigative breakdown shows that by the time the news hit the public in November 2025, Nicole had already moved her primary assets into trusts that Keith couldn't touch. She played the long game and she played it perfectly. But the consequences for Keith are just beginning to surface. His business entity status, as he once complained about, is now a bankrupt brand. No one wants to partner with the man who allegedly called his wife a trick to his ex-girlfriend while spending her money on a New Jersey hideaway. The level of public disgust is palpable. Every time Keith tries to post a wholesome photo with the kids now, the comments are flooded with questions about Marvin and the missing millions. It's a total PR disaster that no amount of country music charm can fix. The scandal also touches on the abuse of power dynamic within the household. While Nicole held the financial power, Keith reportedly used emotional manipulation to keep her off balance. By withdrawing intimacy and making her feel responsible for his emasculation, he was able to distract her from his extracurricular activities. It's a classic tactic. Make the other person feel like the problem so they don't look at what you're doing. But Janelle saw it. She was the one who called him an opportunist from the jump, And she's the one who reportedly led the charge to get the forensic auditors involved. The public reaction to Janelle has shifted from seeing her as a meddling mother-in-law to a prophetic hero. She saw the corruption before the first anniversary. She saw the way Keith looked at the bank accounts more than he looked at the baby. And now, as the 2026 fallout continues, her warnings are the soundtrack to Keith's downfall. The sheer scale of the deception is what keeps the viewers hooked. People want to know how deep the rabbit hole goes. Was there more than one condo? Were there other aliases besides Marvin? The investigative findings suggest that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. As we move into the final phase of this report, we have to look at the actual legal consequences and the financial ruins Keith is facing, because when you try to out-hustle a woman like Nicole Kidman, you don't just lose your marriage, you lose your entire future, your credibility, and every single cent you thought you had secured in the shadows of your secret life. The financial ruins and legal wreckage Keith is facing in the wake of this 2026 finalization are nothing short of a professional execution. As we move into this final chapter of the Urban Kidman fallout, the focus shifts from the Marvin aliases and the New Jersey parties to the cold, hard reality of a courtroom. According to leaked reports from Nicole's legal camp, the extraction wasn't just about a divorce. It was about a total reclamation of every asset Keith allegedly mismanaged or misappropriated during their nearly two-decade run. The fallout has reached a point where government probes into Keith's Blue Neon LLC are no longer a hypothetical threat. They are a reality. When you have millions of dollars unaccounted for, in a joint estate of this size, it's not just a civil matter anymore. It's a red flag for tax authorities and financial regulators. The consequences are mounting faster than Keith can keep up with, and the public is watching his slow-motion collapse with a mixture of fascination and absolute disdain. Section 3 of this scandal is where the opportunity Keith saw in 2011 turns into the liability that destroys his 2026. The ironclad prenup that Keith dragged his feet on signing has become his own personal gallows. Because Nicole's team proved a pattern of financial bad faith, the terms of that agreement were triggered with extreme prejudice. We aren't just talking about him leaving with zero alimony. We are talking about Nicole seeking restitution for the funds funneled into his secret life. Anonymous sources suggest that Keith has been served with a series of legal demands to liquidate his private holdings, including that infamous condo, to pay back the skimmings from the Kidman Urban Production Ventures. The public backlash has been so severe that Keith's once loyal fanbase has largely evaporated, replaced by a digital mob demanding he be held accountable for the economic abuse of one of Australia's greatest icons. The hypothetical resignations we discussed earlier have become very real. Keith has reportedly been asked to step down from several high-profile board positions and charitable organizations that were only open to him because of his association with Nicole. In the world of the elite, proximity to power is everything, and once Nicole cut the cord, Keith found himself falling into a void where no one was waiting to catch him. The financial crisis he is currently navigating is exacerbated by the fact that his business entity was entirely dependent on the Kidman brand. Without the access, without the private jets, and without the multi-million-dollar safety net, Keith is realizing that being a provider of love and happiness doesn't pay the mortgage on a lifestyle he never actually owned. The suspense of his next move is gone, replaced by the grim anticipation of his total bankruptcy. Even more shocking are the reports of a potential criminal probe into the logistics Keith handled during his early years. Some investigative findings suggest that the way he managed cameras and lighting back in the day wasn't as clean as it looked on the surface, and Nicole's team is reportedly handing over files that could open up a whole new set of legal headaches for the singer. This is the ultimate revenge move, not just taking his present, but dismantling his past. The public reactions to these developments have been explosive, with hashtags like The Real Keith and Kidman Reclamation trending globally. People are dissecting every single lie, every single Marvin sighting, and every single time he tried to blame Nicole for his own failures. The corruption of his character is so complete that even his apologies, if he ever offers any, will be seen as just another calculated maneuver. And let's not forget the children. The psychological consequences for Isabella Jane and Sunday Rose are the real tragedy here. But even in that arena, Nicole is taking no prisoners. Reports indicate that she has established a legal firewall that prevents Keith from using the children's images or names for any commercial or PR purposes, without her express, written consent. It's a total blackout of his devoted dad brand. He is being stripped of every tool he used to manipulate public opinion. As the legal probes deepen, we are hearing whispers of Keith being forced to sell off his music catalog just to keep his legal team on retainer. Imagine the irony. A man who thought he was building an empire on someone else's foundation is now losing the one thing he actually created just to survive the fallout of his own greed. The final chapter of this story is a cautionary tale for anyone who thinks they can outplay a woman who has spent 40 years navigating the shark-infested waters of Hollywood. Nicole Kidman didn't just win the divorce. She deleted the man. Janelle Ann's haunting prayer that she was wrong about him has been answered with a resounding "you were right." The tension in the Nashville air is thick as Keith prepares for a series of depositions that will likely expose even more Marvin-esque secrets. Will we find out there were more aliases, more properties, more betrayals? The odds are high. This isn't just the end of a marriage. It's the total erasure of a reputation. Nicole is already being spotted in the company of Simon Baker, looking like a woman who has finally stepped out of a long, dark shadow and into the light of a new, authentic life. Keith, meanwhile, is a ghost in his own world, a man who had everything and traded it for the cheap thrill of a secret life in New Jersey. The empire he thought he was building was actually just a prison of his own making, and the doors have finally locked him in. As we wrap up this investigative deep dive, the lesson is clear. In the world of high-stakes celebrity drama, the truth doesn't just come out, it hunts you down. Keith Urban's calculation, his resentment, and his Marvin persona have all collided in a perfect storm of professional and personal ruin. Nicole Kidman has finally admitted what we all suspected, not through a tearful interview, but through the cold, calculated actions of a woman who is done playing a role that didn't fit. The Urban Kidman household is a pile of ash, and while Nicole is rising like a phoenix, Keith is left sifting through the ruins of a life that was never really his to begin with. Now I want to hear from you. After everything we've uncovered, the aliases, the financial skimming, the secret condos, and the ultimate extraction by Nicole, do you think Keith Urban can ever recover his career? Or is Marvin the only identity he has left? Was Nicole too harsh with that ironclad prenup? Or was it the only thing that saved her from total financial ruin? And the biggest question of all, is Simon Baker the upgrade Nicole deserved all along? Or is she just moving from one Australian nightmare to the next? The evidence is all there. But the truth is whatever you decide to believe in the comments below. Make sure you like this video if you think Nicole made the right move. Subscribe for the next part of this investigation where we dive into the Simon Baker files, and hit that notification bell because, honey, we are just getting started. The truth is out there, and I'm the only one with the receipts to prove it. Don't go anywhere. The world of celebrity secrets is deep, and we're about to go even deeper. At the end of the day, the collapse of the Urban Kidman dynasty isn't just a Hollywood breakup. It's a cold, hard lesson in what happens when you mistake a woman's kindness for weakness. Nicole has finally closed the book on a 19-year performance, leaving Keith to wander the wreckage of a reputation that was built on a foundation of Marvin aliases and secret New Jersey retreats. But the real question remains. Did we just witness the ultimate betrayal? Or was this the most successful long con in celebrity history? Was Keith ever really in love? Or was he just a passenger on Nicole's private jet until his ticket finally expired? And what about that January 2026 settlement? Did Nicole go too far? Or did she not go far enough in reclaiming her empire? I want to know your thoughts in the comments. Is Nicole finally living her best life with Simon Baker? Or is she just replacing one complication with another? Drop a comment below if you saw these red flags coming a decade ago. Don't forget to smash that like button if you're Team Nicole and subscribe with notifications turned on, because our next investigative report is going to blow the lid off the Simon Baker files. You don't want to miss what we've uncovered next. Stay tuned, stay skeptical, and remember, the truth is always messier than the movie.